Welcome to the Bookbibuli podcast. Today we are going to discuss Three Men in a Boat. Three Men in a Boat is a truly hilarious story of what must be the most disastrous trip ever depicted in fiction. Set in the 1880s and told from the perspective of the narrator J. J, yes, that's the name, the alphabet. The book opens with Jib and his two friends, George and Harris, deciding to embark upon a boating holiday on the Thames. Personally, I could not have come to Three Men in a Boat at a better time. With depression looming large all over during COVID times, it was this book that offered some bursting out opportunities to forget life stresses and laugh without effort. But that's what my take on the book was. Here we have Arya, he's 14, and an avid reader. He will be discussing the book with me today. Hello, Arya.
Hello, good to be here.
Arya, I believe you've read Three Men in a Boat. How long ago was that?
2 years. I had read it during the first lockdown of the pandemic, and the book made me forget about the gloominess all around. You'll be really hard pressed to find a book funnier than Three Men in a Boat.
Yeah, that's true. I believe, Arya, humor is not taken seriously, even in literature.
Why should we be taking humor seriously? Doesn't that defeat the whole point?
Well, that's a compelling argument. So let me rephrase. Three Men in a Boat is a seriously funny book, isn't it?
Yes, that it is. Jerome's humor is subtle, and yet it is completely on the nose.
Well, how does he achieve that? This I do not know.
The setup is subtle, but the punchline is on the nose.
Interesting. Can you elucidate that point?
Of course. My favorite example is when Jay is looking through this book of all the diseases he can find, and then he decides that he has each and every one of them by looking through the symptoms. And then eventually he gets through it all and finds out that the one disease he doesn't have is housemaid's knee. And the whole time you're thinking, oh, this is the joke that he's a hypochondriac. But the joke is that he is absolutely livid and goes to consult a doctor about the fact that he does not have housemaid's knee.
Oh, that's funny. Well, though this has nothing to do with the humor, did you know that Three Men in a Boat was actually intended as a guidebook? Something of a tour of England's best riverside destination?
There's a complete chapter in the middle where he talks about history. Very lucid descriptions of all the places they visit, and they are artistically described with words.
Yes, the descriptions of the various villages and landmarks from Hampton Court Palace to Magna Carta Island are all wonderfully constructed. Very articulate, detailed, and insightful.
Yes, they are very well constructed. Honestly, I was more eager to go on to the next chapter, to get to the next joke. Like Harris singing comic songs.
Well, to be candid, the narrative was something that I did not expect from a book hailed as the comedic predecessor to P.G. Woodhouse's works.
I haven't read any. It is on my recommended list, thanks to Bookbibuli.
Well, thank you very much. Did I omit to say that it also features a dog named Montmorency? Consider this. The main character is named Jay and the dog Montmorency. Just the name keeps the reader guessing all the time. Who is this Montmorency? He sounds like royalty. When did you realize that Montmorency is a dog?
I realized it when they were packing and he keeps ruining it all. Or maybe when Jay first describes him about being sent from heaven and killing rats and winning bets for the gardener because of that.
You figured it out much quicker than I did. I figured it out when he duels the kettle. Until then, I was wondering the whole time why the book wasn't called Four Men in a Boat.
The original title was Three Men in a Boat, to say nothing of the dog, in parentheses. I'm so glad he dropped that so he could hoodwink more people. Surprisingly though, George and Harris are based off real-life characters. It is Montmorency who's made up.
Really? Montmorency does seem to gain human like characteristics at every occasion, doesn't he? Plus, I doubt a smarter dog, or human for that matter, can exist. What was your favorite moment in the book, Arya?
I can't think of just one, there are far too many. Let me just think a bit. Though I do know my mom's. My mom's is when they give tips on how to boil the tea.
Oh, that one. Yeah, let's read that, shall we?
Alright. I brought the book with me. I don't think you would mind.
Not at all, please.
Just open.
Oh, you remember the page?
Yes, it's page number 74.
Thank you.
Okay. That is the only way to get a kettle to boil up on the river. If it sees that you are waiting for it and are anxious, it will never even sing. You have to go away and begin your meal as if you were not going to have any tea at all. You must not even look round at it. Then you will soon hear it sputtering away, mad to be made into tea. It is a good plan too, if you are in a great hurry, to talk very loudly to each other about how you don't need any tea and are not going to have any. You get near to the kettle so that it can overhear you. And then you shout out, "I don't want any tea. Do you, George?" To which George shouts back, "Oh no, I don't like tea. We'll have lemonade instead. Tea's so indigestible." Upon which the kettle boils over and puts the stuff up.
Well, that was fun for sure.
I think I have reached a conclusion on my favorite. I think my personal favorite is when Harris cooks his famous scrambled eggs.
Very well, let's read that too.
Harris proposed that we should have scrambled eggs for breakfast. He said he would cook them. It seemed, from his account, that he was very good at doing scrambled eggs. He often did them at picnics and went out on yachts. He was quite famous for them. People who had once tasted his scrambled eggs, so we gathered from his conversation, never cared for any other food afterwards, but pined away and died when they could not get them. So sad. It made our mouths water to hear him talk about such things, and we handed him out the stove and the frying pan and all the eggs that we had not smashed and gone over everything in the hamper, and begged him to begin. He had some trouble in breaking the eggs, or rather not so much in breaking the eggs, as in getting them into the frying pan when broken and keeping them off his trousers and preventing them from running up his sleeve. But he fixed some half a dozen into the pan at last and then squatted down by the side of the stove and shivered them about with a fork. It seemed harassing work as far as George and I could tell. Whenever he went near the pan, he burned himself and then he would drop everything and dance around the stove, flicking his fingers about and cursing the things. Indeed, every time George and I looked around at him, he was sure to be performing this feat. We thought at first that it was a necessary part of the culinary arrangements.
Another blast, isn't it? Oh well.
Oh, yes, very definitely.
Oh well. So when Jerome published it, the reviews ranged from the vitriolic to the merely hostile. The use of slang was condemned as vulgar, and the book as a whole abused as a shameless appeal to the working class Londoners. Typically, the reading public paid absolutely no attention. But Three Men in a Boat went on selling in vast numbers, defying the reading class. The publisher wasn't convinced either. Arrowsmith, the publisher, he told a friend that I pay Jerome so much in royalties. I cannot imagine what becomes of all the copies of that book I issue. I often think the public must be eating them. And if it needed any more proof of its success, it was also promptly pirated by American publishers.
This is a book that engages from the very first pages. Three Men in a Boat provides an uncanny and comedic reflection on human nature. That it manages this through a story embedded in the lifestyle of Victorian gentlemen, if they can be called that, is a magnificent achievement. I think it should be high on recommendation.
Yes, I guess. An effective book recommendation to any reader is not possible without analyzing the reading history of the reader. But yes, I can broadly say that this is a book for all those who have slightly warped sense of humor. You have to be one of those distorted ones to actually pick the lines, and then you have a laugh riot at hand. The scenic descriptions of the locations touch the senses of the reader. The ridicule is chased with the definite word for every nuance. Now, that is the power of language. It is no surprise to me that Three Men in a Boat consistently ranked one of the funniest books of all time. The perfect antidote to all of life's worries. Thank you very much, Arya. It was a pleasure to have you with us. We look forward to seeing you soon again.
Pleasure to be here.
So stay tuned and keep listening to the Bookbibuli podcast. We'll see you next Friday. Thank you.
Yeah.